This is Shelley Propp talking with Dr. Steven Thompson at Bethel University about some music education technology. So, what have you seen in the past few years that have come out as interesting developments in music education technology today?
Well, some of the things that I use the most, and I'm not really an expert at this, but some of the things that I use the most are I'm using more and more digital video and DVDs to give instant feedback in, say, my conducting class. I'm using iTunes a lot more. I'm using, when I taught music history last year, it was interesting to see how much was available for of really great performances and music on even YouTube. I was amazed at how much opera and classical music I could find on there and incorporate visual as well as oral recordings of pieces for students. That was really fun. One of the big things that has come out in the last couple of years that really has me jazzed is the use of orchestral excerpts on CD-ROMs so that you can actually buy. When I was in school 30 years ago, we had books that were like 7 or 8, 10 volumes of little excerpts of the great orchestral work for trumpet or clarinet or flute or whatever. And you bought all these books and you had the little segments of the parts. But right now there's a trend in buying a CD-ROM with all of the music from any one composer, a variety of composers on a CD, but more importantly, the entire actual orchestral part, and first, second, third, fourth, whatever, so that you actually can print off and own an entire part rather than little segments. One of the things that used to frustrate me with the books that I learned with and have taught with for many years was that, okay, so they learned these parts, and then all of a sudden some editor decided not to put section X in, and you don't know it or haven't seen it before. Not that that's a big trouble, but it's nice to have the entire part. The other thing is to have the entire part, and if in fact you have a chance to have, say, a trumpet class with all your trumpet students, and can in fact say, okay, everybody, let's play all 4 parts of Mahler's Sixth Symphony. It's kind of fun. They can all play together and do that. So that's really fun. Clearly, the use of technology has helped us. The programs, for example, along with Finale, the smart music that allows us to have computer accompaniments for solos and ensembles. Not only just accompaniments, but one that actually follows you as if it was a live pianist. So a student can go in a practice room with a computer and work on their solo and actually hear and work with the accompaniment in one that's intuitive and follows, which is nice. That's been a big change. The smart boards and the things that are able to happen with some of that, amazing. Even my PED class for percussion last year, being able to start using online teaching resources with learning the various skills in percussion, where you can actually have timed speeding up different things. You can test yourself and work on the rudiments in percussion, all online through the Percussive Arts Society. Things like that are just incredible to be able to actually have all that stuff at your fingertips versus just in class or whatever. Those are really top-notch. I had all my students practicing in PED class percussion, all the different techniques right on their computer, and pacing and seeing how fast they could get it, and that was pretty good. So there's lots of new things. One of the fun things isn't necessarily technology, But a certain resource that uses technology is the Teaching Music Through Performance series from GIA Publications. Again, something I wish I had when I was starting. It's amazing. The books are wonderful, and that's not necessarily technology, but all the great band composers, conductors, educators are writing about the various sources of things for conducting, for teaching band, but more importantly, the recordings that come along with them so that they help you select the very best literature in all the grade levels. And there it is, all there to listen to and to use as a reference. Again, not necessarily technology, but more technology than I ever had, let's put it that way.
And it seems like we have so many more resources and exposure to even just, like you were saying, with the orchestral excerpts and all those kind of things. So how does that affect, and even listening to the recordings, clearly students have more exposure to classical arrangements, I suppose, rather than having to go to see the orchestra. But how do we continue keeping that live music portion as a part of what we do? Well, and I'm sure that'll never go away.
Well,
but
a lot
we
of
hope.
orchestras are closing their doors.
That's true.
It's really unbelievable. This year alone, there were, I think, 5 or 6 professional orchestras that closed.
Wow.
And that's really sad. There's a variety of reasons for that, one of which is audiences don't relate to the music, and secondly, composers don't write music that relates to the audience. But there's other things. The economics of it are just astoundingly huge. Here's a great way that answers your question and is also a great technology for music education. One of the things that I loved in my early adulthood was going to Northrop Auditorium every year and seeing 2 or 3 of the performances of the Metropolitan Opera when they came on tour from New York. They'd play a whole week in Northrop every May. And every year I would look and, oh boy, this star and this singer that my favorite, and now I can go see this opera. And of course, it got too expensive. They could not take an entire orchestra and sets and singers out on tour. It was absolutely prohibitive in cost. And that disappeared about 15, 20 years ago, which was really sad.
Yeah.
I loved it. And they would fill the place out here at Northrop for a whole week. Because how else can you get to see the Metropolitan Opera? And of course, for 60 years, they've been doing the live Saturday broadcasts on the radio around the world. Well, you can hear it, but part of opera is seeing it. Well, now, the most unbelievable thing started last year. Live, as they're happening, broadcasts in high definition in movie theaters around the world.
Oh, wow.
As they're happening. The Saturday broadcasts, not every one, but they did 8. They did 2 last year, or 3, trying it. And now they did 8 this year, and next year they're doing 11. And talk about technology. You can go see the Metropolitan Opera almost live.
Right.
You're in a movie theater,
but
in HD video, HD sound, and for $40, which is cheaper than you'd see it in New York, you can see some, that's astounding. And you can take your students to see the Met at the movie theater in Brooklyn Center.
That is so great.
And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of theaters all over the world. They're even broadcasting it in Norway next year.
Right.
So there's a technological resource that's amazing.
Wow.
And they didn't know how that was going to go over. And that's why they did 2 or 3 that first year, 8 this year. It's probably the new wave. It's how the Met will stay able to be vibrant. And orchestras will probably need to do the same kinds of things.
Wow.
So that's a great way to teach your student about opera. Take them down the street to the movie theater. It's not quite the same deal, obviously.
Right.
But then, okay, maybe you take them to see the Met, and they kind of think that's cool. Well, maybe they'll go to the Ordway and see the Minnesota Opera with you another time. So.
Well, things are certainly changing. Thanks for talking about some stuff, and we'll see you next time.